that he came by to pay tribute to John Mealey. So without further ado, may I introduce our Congressman, Dr. Raul Ruiz.
Hello. So all of you know that today is a remarkable and special occasion to honor John Mealey and his career and what he has done for the people of the Coachella Valley for so many years. And there's no way I was going to miss this, regardless of my schedule, so please pardon the intrusion early, and I do have to leave after I speak, but know that that is not a reflection of the amount of respect and adoration and admiration I have for John Mealey. I've known John Mealey from before I ran for Congress because of his work that he did for underserved populations in our valley and me as a physician. And I got to know John Mealey really good as a congressman because nobody advocated more fiercely, with more dedication, and with more passion and compassion than John Mealey for the people that he serves. And that is something that I respect and admire, and because of that, his story and his contributions to our community will forever be cataloged and recorded in the congressional record in the history of our nation. And it will read, for generations to come, it will read, Mr. Speaker, today I am honored to congratulate John Mealey on his retirement after 34 years of leadership in helping build communities and changing lives for thousands of farm workers, service workers, and chronically ill residents through the Coachella Valley Housing Coalition. In 1982, Mr. Mealey led the way with community leaders to address the housing needs of hundreds of low-income families in the Coachella Valley by forming CVHC. That same year, CVHC received its first grant of $10,000 from Aetna Foundation, and in 1986, they built the first low-income farm workers complex in Coachella, my hometown, California. Fast forwarding 3 decades, and thanks to Mr. Mealey's diligent work and vision, he has helped fundraise over $700 million towards building more than 4,500 homes and apartments for low and very low income residents in the Coachella Valley. Furthermore, under Mr. Mealey's guidance, CVHC has created home ownership opportunities from Palm Springs to Blythe in the 36th Congressional District. This translates into a dream come true for families and a better and brighter future for generations to come. In 2002, the Board of Directors and employees of CVHC established the JFM College Scholarship Fund program in honor of Mr. John F. Mealey. The Scholarship Fund awards scholarships annually to students who reside in affordable housing communities developed by CVHC. The JFM has generated $500,000 in scholarship funds and benefited more than 600 students. Mr. Mealey's extraordinary career began in Philadelphia at a nonprofit housing organization. Before joining CVHC in 1982, he worked at the Riverside Department of Housing and Community Development. Mr. Mealey also served as a board member on the California Coalition for Rural Housing, the Natural Rural Housing Coalition, and the Natural Equity Fund. Amongst the numerous reputable recognitions that Mr. Mealey has obtained throughout his remarkable career, he recently was honored with the Rural Community Assistance Corporation Award. This distinction is presented to those individuals who demonstrate the lifetime achievement of leadership in rural development, building and sustaining an organization that benefits rural communities and has a regional impact. So, Mr. Speaker, I am proud to recognize Mr. Mealey, who for nearly 4 decades dedicated his time to better the lives of underserved communities. For his work, and on behalf of the thousands of families of the 36th Congressional District of California, I would like to offer my sincerest thanks and congratulate Mr. Mealey for his exceptional commitment. I wish him and his wife Patricia the best on his well-deserved retirement.
Thank you.
So this will forever be in the congressional record.
I can't say anything. This is a big shock. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all the great things you do, man. You're the great work for the area.
Well, you open doors for all of us.
And in fact,
a lot of us farm workers.
I have
families.
something for you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Last time I was in your office in D.C., you pointed out that we hadn't sent you a picture from the scholarship. Here is one here.
That's great.
Great picture with you in the middle. You can put that up in your office.
All right, so let's hold our respective plaques here.
Got 3, 1, 2, and
children who live in some of our housing developments who participate in our ballet folklorico and our mariachi music. I'm Julie Bornstein, and my job is to make sure that everybody has a good time tonight. So I would like to start it off by asking the Honorable Linda Evans, Mayor of La Quinta, to join us.
Hey, how are you, lady?
With an official welcome.
Yes, I'm so good to see you too. So, your cousin, right? Gloria?
Good evening, everybody. I'm Linda Evans, the mayor of the city of La Quinta. How many people are new to La Quinta, this gem of the desert where we are right now? You've come from across the country, across the state. Excellent. Welcome to our fine city. We're paradise all year long. I'm so pleased to be here to welcome you and honor John Mealey for the work that he has done over the decades with affordable housing, not only through the Coachella Valley, but across the state. He's done some amazing projects here in our city, and we'll hear about more of those later on. But I'd just like to extend a warm welcome on behalf of the rest of the City Council, other elected officials that are here tonight to honor John for his work and just pay tribute. All of you are a testament to the man that he is and what he created and what he has provided for so many people. The connectivity of organizations and the results that he has achieved and the vision he had is extraordinary, and I'm so proud and honored to celebrate with you all tonight. So thank you, enjoy your dinner, and we'll be with the program in a little while. Thank you.
She left. Mom. Mom. I know. Mother. Mom.
Sabemos que te retiras. Las familias que necesites el sueño de tener nuestra propia casa, estamos tristes.
I just want to tell a story about my life and the life of 1,000 families. John, we know you're retiring, and all of us are sad.
Pero a la vez estamos contentos, porque después de tanto trabajo, mereces ser agradecido de estar.
But at the same time, we're very
En 1988 escuché el programa de ayuda mutua y trabajaba yo en el campo y yo pensé esto es imposible para mí porque tenía 6 hijos y una familia grande y era difícil.
In 1988, I was working as a farm worker. I had children, and I heard about the self-help program, and I thought, there's no way I could ever own my own.
Llené la aplicación y me llamaron y me dijeron calificaste y gritábamos de alegría.
I filled out the application, and then I was told that I was qualified, that I was able to build my own home, and all of us can enjoy it.
Construimos nuestra casa y cuando la terminamos nos dio Juan las llaves y se nos salieron las lágrimas y me dijo Juan, sí se pudo.
We were able to build our house, and God gave us the key to our home, our brand new house, and He told us we were able to do it. You can do it.
Después de eso, la alegría fue más grande porque me dijo, Rigo, quiero que trabajes conmigo para que hagas el sueño de tu propia gente, que les ayudes a hacer su propio sueño, que es hacer su casa.
After that, I was blessed because God gave me the opportunity to work with the council as a supervisor, and I was able to help other families build their own homes.
Juan, el camino de recorrido fue difícil, pero lograste tu sueño de hacer felices a miles de gente.
We know the road was hard, John, but we were able to help thousands of families accomplish this thing, to own their own home. Thank you.
Juan, el camino que recorriste fue difícil, pero le damos gracias a Dios por haber ayudado a miles de gente. Muchas gracias.
Again, thank you, God. We know it wasn't easy, but you helped thousands of families. Thank you.
Thank you. Rico is our supervisor emeritus. He's helped himself hundreds of families get into their own homes. Someone else who has been with Coachella Valley Housing pretty much from the beginning, not even wearing a green eye shade tonight, is our outside auditor, local accountant, because we try to use local firms as much as possible, local CPA, Oscar Armin.
Thank you, Judy. Good evening. My name is Oscar Armin. I'm a CPA and the owner of a full-service accounting firm in Congress, California. I started my practice back in 1987, just about the time when CDAC was starting to turn the corner on its humble beginnings. I am honored to be here and to have the opportunity to share with you some of my thoughts about John's accomplishments at CDAC. Before I started my career in public accounting, I was a lot like John. I had a vision for bringing social justice to the communities of the lower Coachella Valley. And just like John, I was fortunate enough to be part of a group of community organizers that started a nonprofit in the city of Coachella that became a very successful community health center that brought much-needed medical services to the low-income, migrant, and farm worker population of the Coachella Valley. I was the CFO of this nonprofit, and in this capacity, This is where I had my first encounter with John Mealey. At the request of one of my good friends, I went to meet John Mealey at an office that was provided by the California Bureau of Legal Assistance. Just like when we started our nonprofit together, John was given office space free of charge to start CAC. One big difference, we got free rent for a couple of months, but John got free rent for 5 years. During my first encounter with John, he told me about his plans to bring quality and affordable housing to the farm workers' families in the Coachella Valley. From that very moment, it became very clear to me that John not only had a vision, but was committed to do whatever it was going to take to bring about the vision that he had for the Coachella Valley. After my first meeting with John, I had no doubt that John had the ingredients and the qualities and the determination necessary to succeed. The only thing John was lacking at that very moment was a little bit of money to start his project. Now that I look back to my first encounter with John, I think he thought that maybe there was a possibility that he could get some money from me. After all, I was the CFO, and somehow he knew that we had money in the bank. Unfortunately for John, that did not happen. But shortly after that, John got his first grant, and now we all know how the rest of John's vision has unfolded in the last 34 years. Thanks to John's vision, CVAC is one of the premier housing corporations, not only in the state of California, but in the country. In the housing nonprofit world, everybody knows about CVAC and the great work they've done to bring affordable housing to many families throughout the Coachella Valley. With the exception of 2 cities in our valley, which I will not name, every other city has benefited, embraced, and supported many of the housing projects CVAC has developed. We all know the results of John's vision. CVAC has helped many low-income families, individuals with special needs, senior citizens, farm workers, and veterans improve their living conditions by constructing and operating many housing projects. Currently, CVAC owns or has a controlling interest in 32 rental multifamily apartments, which collectively have over 2,500 units. CVAC, through its self-help program, has assisted over 1,600 families build their own homes. In addition, John's vision has expanded to include medical facilities, child development centers, after-school programs, cultural programs, and recreation services to the families that they serve. John, I have been your auditor for many years, and I have seen firsthand your leadership capabilities, your diligence, creativity, and dedication. CVAC's amazing financial condition and good standing with federal, state, county, and local governments is a testament of your great management skills. You have come a long way from the first time I audited you. You now have great staff, good systems, reliable records, and plenty of cash in the bank. You're surrounded by great professionals, very skilled advisors, and a very committed and knowledgeable board of directors. This team that you have put together is a reflection of who you are and what you've been in the last 34 years. John, you have accomplished much, and this is the reason we all are here to honor you and publicly recognize all the good that you have done in our communities. I know you're a practicing Catholic, and if I had any influence over the Pope, I would lobby him to make you a saint. So that you will be remembered forever as the St. John of the Coachella Valley. Thank you for allowing many of us to assist you in carrying out your vision. You have been a true servant to our communities, and you've done a wonderful job. I know that it's not going to be easy for you to walk away from CVHC because you know that there's still much work to be done. But there's a time and a place for everything. Your time has come to say goodbye and to move on to the next phase of your life. Once again, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you for your commitment and sincere desire to make this valley a better place for many of our struggling families. God bless you, and enjoy your time with your beautiful wife, Pat, your kids and grandkids. It is time to be a papa again.
Mario Rodriguez is a former board member. He's an attorney here in the Coachella Valley, and I was privileged to serve under his leadership when he was board chair. Mario?
Thank you, Julie. When I was asked, when I was told I could make some comments here tonight, I was delighted, and I said, of course I would. And when I spoke to John, I said, John, if I'm gonna speak, I'm gonna have to tell the truth. And he said, well, can you give him the edited version? And I said, okay. I don't want to be like Kanye West at the Grammys. I knew John Mealey before he was John Mealey.
Yes,
Before he became the nationally respected, well-deserved nationally respected leader in the development of low-income housing. In late 1982, I was a brand new lawyer. The ink on my license was still wet, and I started working in Coachella as the directing attorney of the California Rural Legal Assistance.
in case I don't see you.
California Rural Legal Assistance is a nonprofit legal aid agency which is empowered to represent the rural poor. And at that time, we were focusing on migrant farm workers. So I show up at the office, my first day on the job, and I see, and it's a divided office, so my office window is separate from the other building, and I see a guy drive up in an old blue Volvo wearing a Hawaiian shirt. Gets out of the car, walks into the other office, and I'm thinking, who's this guy? To begin with, you didn't see too many white guys working in Coachella back in 1982. I figured he was an ex-hippie, which turned out to be partly right. And I quickly learned that John Mealey was working with a non-profit housing corporation, which, and I need to give credit where it's due, which was incorporated by Carol Harper, one of our staff attorneys, and I think you're going to hear from Carol in a few minutes. But I need to give you a little history of how it was that CDHC came into existence. In 1982, CRLA filed a lawsuit against a slumlord in Mecca, and it was a case involving farm worker housing, which is the lowest quality, horrible, and it became known as the case of the Lost City. That's how terrible that housing was out there in Mecca. And because of the publicity that case received, a lot of attention to the need for low-income housing, Carol Harper took it upon herself to draft the Articles of Incorporation, set the forces in motion, which led to the formation of the Coachella Valley Housing Coalition. Now, she was able to obtain an initial grant of $10,000 from the Aetna Foundation, and even then, as now, $10,000 doesn't go a long way. You know, but John stood the course for about 4 years before the first project actually broke ground. You know, there were lean times. You know, it was mostly John meeting with county officials, federal officials, state officials, trying to convince them of the need for this. You know, and I give John due credit for having the faith, you know, the steadfastness to see it through. You know, we were able to obtain a $50,000 grant from the city of Coachella, the redevelopment agency, and I want to thank the city because that money was much needed. We were running on fumes. I mean, I think John will tell you that, you know, it was just seconds and inches, you know. During that time, I was general counsel for the corporation, and that sounds impressive. But I need to tell you there was nothing going on, so I wasn't much counseling I was doing. You know, and I left CRLA in 1986, and I was active on the board for about 14 years. And during that time, the growth, the accomplishments, and the developments of the CDHC are just amazing, you know. And I would be remiss if I didn't say that, you know, no one person does anything himself. The staff, the board, the state officials, our grantees, our partners in development also deserve credit for that. But I also need to tell you that none of that would have happened had John not stayed the course, you know. In 1989, John and I went up to Visalia to another retirement dinner for a man named Bob Marshall. Bob Marshall was the executive director, the retiring executive director of a group called Self-Help Enterprises. Self-Help Enterprises was founded up in Central California in 1963 and does much of the same work that CVHC does, and I'm sure that John drew some inspiration from the model developed by Self-Help Enterprises and Bob Marshall. And so John and I went up to Visalia to attend his retirement dinner. And John went as representative of the corporation, the CEO, and I went as representative of the board. I was the board chair back then. But I need to tell you that my going to that event was very personal. I haven't told you that when I came to this country, we were very poor, migrant farm workers up in Central Valley, and we lived in a shack. So when people talk about dilapidated housing, I know about that. I know about not having central heating, central air conditioning, the privy out in the back. And that's why I became a legal aid lawyer. But in 1967, my family was also a participant in the Self-Help Enterprise Sweat Equity Project. We were one of 10 families which constructed our homes up in Kingsbury, California. And I can't tell you the joy and pride and happiness that we felt, and I know my parents felt, when we were given the keys to that house by Bob Marshall. You know, so that's why I went up there to personally thank Bob Marshall for what he did. You know, and the 4,000 families that have been helped by the Coachella Valley Housing Coalition, I know how that feels. You know, I want to end with a story. It's about a man who walks out on the beach every morning. And one day he walks out there after a storm has gone through, and on the beach he sees starfish all over the beach. And off in the distance he sees a young boy walking, and every few steps the boy bends over and picks something up and throws it into the water. And as he gets closer, the man realizes that the boy's picking up the starfish and throwing them back in the ocean. So he says, "What are you doing?" And the boy says, "I'm throwing the starfish back in the ocean because if I don't do it, they're going to die." The man says, "Well, there's thousands of starfish out here. You really can't make that much of a difference." To which the boy reached over, picked up the starfish, threw it in the ocean, and he said, "It made a difference to that one." You know, the work that Self-Help Enterprises did made a difference to me, my 7 brothers and sisters, and my parents. I understand that the John Mealey Scholarship Fund is also granted over $400,000 in scholarships. I want to tell you also that when I went to college, Self-Help Enterprises also gave me a scholarship to go to UCLA and later on help my education at UCLA Law School. So the things that the Coachella Valley Housing Coalition has done, I think it's beyond measure. But I pay tribute to you, John. I thank you for your steadfastness and your staying the course. I remember how hard it was. Thank you very much.
Adding her remarks, another past president and board member, Brenda Rincon.
Good evening. A few months ago, I received an email from CVHC in which John Mealey announced his upcoming retirement and upcoming career as a greeter at a big box store. Like many of you, I was shocked, mainly because I thought John retired about 5 years ago. And I'm pretty sure he waved at me the other day when I was going into Walmart. But in all seriousness, it is difficult to imagine CVHC without John. While no one is more deserving, as Rigo said earlier, of a retirement than you, for many of us, CVHC is John and John is CVHC. But as I reflect on my 8 years on the board, 2 of those as president, seeing up close the good work of all of those at CVHC, I know that John's legacy will continue. John, rest assured that as you clink champagne glasses with your beautiful wife on the beach, that your baby, CVHC, is in great hands. Those you have trained and inspired and led over the past 3 plus decades, will continue to do the great work that CVHC is renowned nationally for. You saw the need for quality, dignified, affordable housing in our community, and you didn't stand on the sidelines. You took the risk, and look at what you started, and look at what will continue. That said, we all know that there has never been and that there will never be another John Mealey. Congratulations doesn't seem a big enough word, but it will have to do. Pedro and I are proud to call you Pat friends. And should you ever have a day off between your honey-do list and your shifts at Walmart, we're only a phone call away, and we like champagne. Thank you. Congratulations.
Okay, now we're down to real current business. our current board chair, Bob Wright, who has served on the board for many years and has now been chairman of the board and carries the title of president, has a whole bunch of duties that he's going to share with you. Bob?
Now wait a minute, he's retiring? I just found that out about 10 minutes ago. Peter, this isn't what we planned on. We were going to do a roast, remember? You know, 19 years ago, I was at our monthly poker game, and Fred Wolf, the old curmudgeon Fred Wolf, said, "Bob, I want you to get on the board of CVHC." So after a long and arduous interview by John Mealey and Larry Cox, I was able to get on the board. And with a little respite in between for my daughter's birth, I've been on the board for almost 19 years. So it's been my pleasure to see a portion of the 4,000 families get affordable housing thanks to CVHC. And thanks to John Mealey. I've met some amazing people over those last almost 20 years, most of which are in this room tonight. A lot of you I only see back in Washington, D.C. when I'm able to go back there, and it's usually in some Irish pub, so. I would like all the board members, all the past board members to stand up, please. I can't see anyone because of these lights, so it's like, it's difficult. But if all the past board members, not the current board members, but if all the past board members of CVHC would stand up. I know I saw Steve Clute there a little earlier. And wave. Now if all the current board members would please stand up that are in attendance tonight. And wave. I've had a couple leave and a couple not attend tonight, so I'm not going to go through the names, but I did just recently, I was handed this by our staff. I have a little letter here from President Barack Obama, who honestly was trying very hard to make this event, but of course he was in town a week prior and wasn't able to do it. The White House was serious about this, but unfortunately he wasn't able to make it. But I do have a message here from the President. It's to John Mealey. Dear John, it is a pleasure to you. It is a pleasure to join your family, friends, and colleagues in congratulating you on your retirement. As you celebrate this milestone, I hope you take pride in the contribution you have made over the course of your career. Sorry, I can't see this very well. It's on my phone. I send my warmest wishes for a rewarding retirement and the best of luck as you set off on the next stage of your life. Sincerely, President Barack Obama. Unfortunately, we were going to have... Unfortunately, Congressman Ruiz kind of got wires crossed tonight, and he was here earlier tonight, and he's not able to attend. He's got two brand new young babies at home that he never really gets to see. So I miss him, but I just got a text from him to say that he wishes he was here, but he's home for the weekend with his family. So now I'd like to bring up right now Senator Jeff Stone. Senator Stone was elected in 2014 to the 28th District, California Senate. He previously served 12 years on the Temecula City Council and 10 years, and 10 years on the Riverside County Board of Supervisors. Senator Stone is a businessman. He's owned over 6 pharmacies and still owns one now in the Murrieta area. And he also owns a property management business. So he's well versed in business. Senator Stone has championed low and moderate housing for his entire career. He's a real advocate of affordable housing. And I'm going to get Senator Stone up here right now to tell you about a new bill that he has just introduced that will help out renters throughout the state of California. So, Senator Jeff Stone.
Thank you, Bob, for your kind introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to be here with you tonight to see so many people. I hear there's 500 people here tonight to pay tribute to Mr. John Mealey for the wonderful work he's done over the last 34 years to provide housing throughout this valley for all walks of life, humane housing, and so a job well done. The American dream of home ownership is important to everybody. And today it's a very challenging environment, especially for young people, to get a home. And so I wanted to share with you, I authored SB 1148. We just brought it across the desk yesterday, that is going to allow all people that rent in the state of California a California tax deduction for that rent, and will allow the savings, the tax savings, to go into like a 401k account that can be used exclusively to get them a down payment so we can move people from becoming renters to becoming homeowners in the state of California. So I hope you'll join me in supporting that bill. I'd like to also commend all the board members, past and present, of the Coachella Valley Housing Coalition for having the wisdom to choose such a wonderful leader like John Mealey, who's just done an outstanding job and will leave an incredible legacy here in the Coachella Valley for many years to come. So on behalf of the State Senate and the 38 million people that live in the state of California, we have a lot of whereases. But the bottom line says, resolved by Senator Jeff Stone, that he takes great pleasure in applauding John Mealey for the exemplary leadership he provided to the Coachella Valley Housing Coalition during his tenure as Executive Director, commends him for his exemplary record of achievements in business and community service, and expresses sincere best wishes for a happy, healthy, and rewarding retirement. Congratulations to John F. Mealey.
Thank you very much, Senator Stone. I really appreciate that. Now I would like to introduce Assemblyman Eduardo Garcia. Eduardo Garcia was elected in 2014 to represent California's 56th Assembly District. Eduardo was first elected to the Coachella City Council in 2014, and in 2006, at the age of 29, became Coachella's first elected mayor. As mayor, Coachella invested $200 million in public work projects. He worked to expand health and wellness programs in the community by building a partnership with the Flying Doctors and the Clinton Foundation. As a graduate of local public schools, he attended Coachella Valley High School and the University of California, Riverside, and completed the Senior Executive and State and Local Government Public Administration program from the JFK School of Government at Harvard University, and recently received a master's degree from the University of Southern California of Policy and Planning and Development. Eduardo is a proud husband and father and a lifelong resident of the Coachella Valley. It's a pleasure for me to introduce my friend, Eduardo Garcia.
Good evening, buenas noches. It's an honor to be here. And just a minute ago, John, I was corrected. I was going to say this is now the third going away party that I've attended on your behalf, but it was made clear that those were not going away parties. Those were kind of setting you up to go away. In fact, some have said to me that they're afraid that you may not be going anywhere after these great parties that have been thrown for you. It's great to be here, and it's certainly great to have the opportunity to share a few words about the great work of Mr. John Mealey and all of the team members of Coachella Valley Housing Coalition, whether the present and the past, and those who have had some indirect or direct affiliation with the organization. You truly, through your vision, have changed the lives of many, many people in the Coachella Valley, particularly in the eastern parts of the Coachella Valley. How important it is that today in the California State Legislature, we talk about the importance of housing and making sure that home ownership continues to be at the forefront of investing in our families, in our youth, and that more importantly, it continues to be attainable to the working families of California. And I think of the work that you've done here in the Coachella Valley and Imperial County and throughout the state of California, where you've left a strong precedent that working on behalf of the most vulnerable people of our state and our country is a noble cause. That not everyone takes it upon themselves to come to an area that perhaps could be foreign territory, having you come to the Coachella Valley from, I believe, Pennsylvania, and coming here to ensure that housing for farm workers be at the forefront of your mission in this organization. That's a noble cause. Making sure that our families have respectable living conditions as they do some of the hardest work that anyone could ever imagine is a noble cause. And I think that you leave a tremendous mark not only here but throughout the state as we discuss and debate how do we continue to put affordable housing at the forefront of addressing the social and economic inequities that we continue to see grow farther and farther apart. And so for me, it is a great honor to be able to present to you this House resolution on behalf of the California State Assembly, where we recognize your many, many years of service here in the Coachella Valley, but also, again, the mark that you leave throughout the state of California with some of your associates who you continue to work on making sure that public policy is reflective of the needs of this great state when it comes to affordable housing. And so I just want to say thank you on behalf of all of the families that you have helped transform, giving them an opportunity to have some form of ownership and ultimately building equity, right, in their value, not only to their household, but to the entire community. The thousands of kids that have received the John F. Mealey Scholarship, who are now graduates from prestigious universities or are currently studying there, thank you for that commitment. All I can say to conclude my comments is that many of us owe you a tremendous amount of gratitude for your commitment and dedication to making sure that everyone has an opportunity to be successful in whatever it is that they dream to do in their lives. And so on behalf of, again, all of the families that directly or indirectly you've touched, and on behalf of the California State Legislature, thank you for your service to this great state of California. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Eduardo. I appreciate it. I'd like now to introduce Supervisor John J. Benoit. Supervisor John Benoit represents the 4th District in the eastern 2/3 of Riverside County. On the Riverside County Board of Supervisors, incorporates nearly 5,000 square miles from Palm Springs to Colorado River and the Salton Sea and south. John is a veteran of 31 years in law enforcement. He attended the FBI National Academy and spent 29 years with the California Highway Patrol, retiring as commander of the CHP Indio Station. Long active in community service organizations, John served as president on both the United Way and Indio Rotary, which is where I first met John years ago. John also served on the Desert Sands School Board. He's also served 3 terms in the California State Assembly, the 64th District, and the California State Senate's 37th District in 2008-2009. Following the death of his friend and mentor, Roy Wilson, Supervisor Roy Wilson. John was appointed to the Board of Supervisors, and he was re-elected for a second four-year term. John graduated from Riverside's Notre Dame High School and Riverside City College. He holds a bachelor's degree in public safety from Cal State Los Angeles and a master's degree in public administration from Cal State San Bernardino, having participated in language immersion programs in Mexico and Costa Rica. His bilingual skills are invaluable to his work in Riverside County's largest and most diversified district, which makes me the only person in the room that doesn't speak the language. So, without further ado, here's Supervisor John Benoit.
Wow, what a great turnout. This is a truly remarkable man who's got a truly remarkable group of friends who are all gathered here tonight, and it's an honor and a privilege to join all of them. And John, you look at this crowd, you can't but help but be very proud to have that many people want to come out. Of course, you know, 33 years as the one and only director. And of course, it all began where he got his training at Riverside County. All the good guys get their training at Riverside County. Dan Martinez, is that right? Yeah, others, yeah. But he left us and went to work for this wonderful group. I'm not going to repeat everything that's been said tonight, but I would like to just comment on one portion that was mentioned earlier, that he's a Catholic, and I share that with you. And I have to relate a story. I was at the Galilee Center about 6 months ago. We did a companion work, I know you're aware of it, where we opened up a farm labor support unit. And when it was all said and done, Bishop Barnes came over and put his arm around me and said, John, looking at what you've done, I think you're going to have to spend a very, very short period of time in purgatory. Which, you know, if I compare what I've done to what I see you've done, I don't even think you're going to have to make a stop on the way, John. Very good. 4,500 housing units. It's just amazing. And I would just finish by saying on behalf of Roy Wilson, Corky Larson, Alan McCandless, Letitia DeLara, all of us who have worked with John, and it was Letitia that introduced us, for all of those people, and on behalf of the 2.3 million residents of Riverside County, but particularly those 4,500 homes and homeowners and families in the Eastern Valley that owe their ability to have their own home to John. Gosh, congratulations, John. All the best luck.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. And this gray-headed guy up here is actually John Mealey. If anyone's forgotten what he's looked like. I was going to mention earlier and acknowledge all of the elected officials out in the audience. I can't see anyone, so obviously Mayor Linda Evans is here, and Frank Spevacek, the head of the city at La Quinta as well, and Dan Martinez, city manager from the city of Indio, as well as Glenn Miller, who is here, mayor of Indio. But I can't see anybody else, so if any other city officials would like to stand up quickly, and I'm looking right into lights, so if you could do that, that'd be great. And I do want to recognize John Aguilar at Cathedral City, who was actually an employee of CVHC for years. Well, I think that pretty much wraps this up. I would like to introduce now, give it back to Julie, and she can move on with introductions.
Bob will join us again at the end of our program, but I'd like to bring up the man that keeps track of all of our money. He's been our CFO from pretty much the beginning, when we became big enough, when we actually had money. Once we got money, then we had to have a CFO. And any of you who knows the accounting for affordable housing knows that the compliance issues and keeping track of all the money and all the different projects, whether single family or multifamily, is quite a challenge. So our CFO, Pedro Rodriguez.
Oh my God, I can't see that well. Thank you, Julie. You know, I've been with the Coachella Valley Housing for 20 years, so I've been working with John since then, and I just want to tell John I'm going to miss you. I'm going to miss you coming over and talking to me and giving me advice and scolding me for some of the things I did wrong. But I think overall, you did an amazing job at training us, at teaching us what we need to do, what we need to know about affordable housing. And that's having compassion and caring for the people that we serve. And I think that's one of the main legacies that we're gonna keep with us, the whole staff. We're all gonna miss you, but you'll always be in our hearts, John. And I know you're gonna be just a phone call away. John was very good at networking, and he knew that the success of CVHC could not have been possible without the support of our financial partners. These partners provided grant funding for operations, housing counseling, and our community services programs. They provided pre-development, acquisition, construction loans for affordable housing, development for single multifamily housing, capital financing for affordable housing development, equity financing for multifamily tax area developments. We really couldn't have accomplished all that we have without their help and their assistance. So today we want to just recognize a few of our financial partners that are here with us tonight. National Equity Fund, Local Initiative Support Corporation, Rolis, Rabobank, Wells Fargo Bank, US Bank, Bank of America Merrill Lynch, United States Department of Agriculture, Rural Development, the County of Riverside, the California Endowment, NeighborWorks America, First Bank, and First Foundation Bank. Thank you for all your support, past, present, and future. We also want to do a special thanks to the generous sponsors whose contributions support our community services programs. Today we recognize our gold level sponsor. I'd like to have Marianne Ibarra, our multifamily development director, come up to the podium, please. Marianne, where are you? We had a lot of supporters and donors for this event, but it wasn't for this event, it was for our community services programs, which you're going to find out a little bit more in a few minutes. But today we recognize our gold level sponsor, the National Equity Fund. Please come up. The National Equity Fund has been a long-term supporter of CVHC, approximately 20 plus years, providing equity financing for multifamily tax credit developments. They were our first equity investor for our first tax credit project, Las Casas 3. They have funded 15 tax credit developments, totaling 882 units of affordable housing. Thank you. The Local Initiative Support Corporation is a joint award. They have also been a loan supporter of CVHC, providing pre-development acquisition loan financing for affordable housing development. They also provide grant funding for operations and community services program. The roll list, please come up, Suzanne. Joe Hagan, and Susanna Nardi. I just want to mention that Todd Fabian probably learned to do tax credit development with us. After that, he moved on to bigger and better things. Our platinum sponsors, we have two. Hyder Property Management Company. Please come up. Hyder Property Management Company is a long-term partner of CBAC. Approximately 28 years. They're a professional management firm with extensive experience in property management. They currently manage a total of 34 CBAC developments, totaling more than 2,500 units, ranging from USDRD finance properties, tax credit finance developments, mobile home parks, special needs housing, and migrant housing. Hyder has been a strong supporter of our community services programs, providing funding over the years. Their commitment to affordable housing and our residents is evident by the excellent job that they do managing our properties. Hyder Property Management Company. Steve Margetti. Come on up, Steve. Come on up, yeah.
Our next platinum sponsor is the William C. Buster Construction Company. William C. Buster Construction has worked with us for over 30 years. We've had a great partnership with them. They started with our very first development, the Pueblo Nuevo Apartments, and have since completed or constructed 27 out of our 34 apartment complexes, with the most recent that was completed in 2015. William C. Buster, will you please come up?
Okay, just one more thing, a few things. We want to take this opportunity to thank all of the financial donors that through generous contribution is helping us to continue providing an amazing array of community services for our residents and our families. CBAC is not only a developer of affordable housing, we also have one of the most extensive community services programs in the field. We provide child care centers at some of our sites, after-school programs for residents, computer learning centers, STEM Lego robotics, mariachi and ballet folklorico, art appreciation programs, opera, digital arts medium, tennis and swimming lessons, scholarship programs, English as a second language, high school charter center, adult health services, and financial capabilities for youth and adult. I firmly believe that if our families had an opportunity to speak to John, they would say the following. Thank you, Senor Mealey, for providing a safe, decent, and affordable housing for my family. Thank you for providing a place to take care of our young children so that we can go to work. Thank you for providing a place for our children to go to after school. Thank you for teaching our children how to use computers and learn robotics. Thank you for teaching our children mariachi music and folkloric dancing. Thank you for exposing our children to the arts, opera, museums. Thank you for teaching our children how to play tennis. Thank you for providing financial scholarships to our college-bound children. Thank you for providing a place for us to learn English. Thank you for providing a place for us to obtain a high school diploma. But most importantly, I think they will say, gracias, señor Mealey, por tratarnos con respeto y dignidad. Thank you, Mr. Mealey, for treating us with respect and dignity. Thank you, John.
And while we are all proud of what John has accomplished here in the Valley, people around the country recognize the legacy of John Mealey. So I'm honored to introduce to you the California State Director for the United States Department of Agriculture, Janice Waddell.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here tonight on behalf of all of USDA Rural Development staff to celebrate your many achievements, John. You've had a truly remarkable career touching thousands of lives. Programs like the Self-Help Housing Program don't happen without strong organizations and strong leadership like you provided. Thank you for your partnership over the last 30 years. Your efforts have truly been instrumental in the success of the Self-Help Housing Program, both in California and nationally. We're proud to be part of your legacy, and we look forward to continuing to work with CVHC in the future. We wish you the very best in your retirement. Congratulations.
And representing Rural LISC, Suzanne Anyarde is here also to recognize John.
Good evening. So I've known John Mealey for 21 years. He was an original partner of Rural LISC, and I was as well. The difference was I was a one-man shop, and John was Coachella Valley Housing Coalition. He was very intimidating in many ways, as some of you might have experienced, but he was also, I was in awe of who this man was and what he did and the knowledge that he brought. He took me under his wing, as the rest of the Gang of Five at Table 27 did, and yay! I was the hit girl, the one from rural Colorado with party lines that didn't understand how internet worked. He was, you know, I know this might surprise some of you, but John can be a curmudgeon. Like, he can be very serious. But I soon found that he had a huge heart and a passion for those less fortunate. He was an integral part of the very beginnings of Rural LISC. Sandy Rosenblith, the founder of Rural LISC, adored him. You know, yesterday we were on a tour as part of our site visit. That's AKA we got to come early to Palm Springs. But we also got to tour and visit many of the projects. Projects is such a cold word. Many of the families, we got to see the impact of John's work and John's legacy. And it was so appropriate to do that before tonight, because I got to see in depth and be reminded of how critical and impactful his legacy is. And I also got to visit his staff, which anybody who is or has been a CVHC staff person, I want you to stand up. Forward, John Mealey's impact, I got to see yesterday from 30 some odd years ago, the self-help homes that are immaculate, but then I also got to interact with staff that will carry forward that legacy. That is a true leader, someone who not only leads, but he also inspires those that will lead following him. And I have to say, I was thrilled when he found Pat and found his life mate to support him. I'm honored. Yay. Pat should stand. honored to present John with a Rural Champion Award on behalf of Rural Lisk.
Okay, so you've heard that there is such a thing as a Gang of Five. Representing the Gang of Five this evening is one of John's colleagues. You've heard of self-help enterprises up in the Central Valley, how it impacted certainly the life of Mario Rodriguez, but also hundreds, if not thousands of other families. So the retired, and there is definitely life after retirement, the retired executive director of self-help enterprises, Peter Carey, AKA member of the Gang of Five.
Thanks, Julie. I have actually two roles here tonight. My first is to here representing the National Rural Housing Coalition. And I know that folks are aware of John's great impact here in this region, but John's impact has reached to the corners of rural America and to the halls of Sacramento and Washington, D.C. And so the National Rural Housing Coalition, which represents rural housing developers in every state of the union, wants to recognize John for his contribution, not just here as a model organization and a leader, but for his impact and his leadership nationally in supporting other organizations and other folks dealing with affordable housing issues across the country. So I have a plaque, and John, I'd like to just read a note from Bob Raposa, who's the director of the National Rural Housing Coalition. Bob says, like many of your colleagues in the Rural Housing Movement and the National Rural Housing Coalition, you've taken what passes for federal housing policy and turned it into something very special. Home ownership through self-help housing, apartments and community facilities for farm workers and others, after-school programs, and other benefits for low-income people. Everyone knows how you built CPHC from scratch and the record of achievement that you have compiled. What many people may not know is that that record has translated into influence in Washington, D.C. Representatives, senators, cabinet secretaries, rural housing officials want to know what you think, and your perspective has been important in shaping federal policy. John? So my other role here is on behalf of this group that's known, I think it's complimentary, as the Gang of Five. There are five of us who have worked together and served in many ways as John's kitchen cabinet over the years. There are only four of us here tonight. Our friend Stan Kiesling was unable to be here, and he's struggling with not being here, just couldn't get here. But any of you who are here for the presentation of the Bill French Award to John know, and saw Stan choke up over the presentation, know how Stan feels about not being here tonight. So I'd like to ask Dave Ferrier and Dennis Lawler to come on up and join me up here as part of the gang. We got it! Yeah, he's here. Oh my God, he's here! All right. So, I was really taken tonight. I was really taken tonight by the comments that Mario made, and he harkened back to Bob Marshall, who was my predecessor, who retired in 1990. And tonight, My successor, Tom Collisher, just left to catch a red eye to Washington, D.C. From LAX. Not a fun trip, I don't think, but I think it's important to realize that 25 years from now, John, people will be telling the story. People will be telling the story about John Mealey and the lives he's touched. That's coming. That's coming. Now, I think they expect me to tell some funny stories about John, but he's right here, and it's not going to happen. But I do want to say that, you know, we grew up in an era, I think like most folks, when you wanted to make a difference. And I'll tell you, John, you have made a difference in the lives of thousands of men, women, and children who have homes and houses and apartments worthy of being called home. And you have in communities throughout the region, communities that have recognized needs and in CVHC have found solutions. And you have made a difference in the lives of so many who've had the opportunity to work alongside of you. And you have assembled an incredible, remarkable, talented, and dedicated team of people at CVHC. And you have made a difference across rural America into the halls of Sacramento and Washington, D.C. And from a personal level, John, I think I can speak for all of us and say, you've made a difference as a mentor and a peer and a friend. And I have a photograph of a very important meeting that took place at a place that Bob was referring to earlier called the Dubliner in Washington, D.C. of the five of us.
All I want to say when they're here is I really think I learned everything from them. They do as well as we do. They all have great organizations. They're great friends. I'm in love with all of them, and I'm going to probably start crying pretty soon. So, thank you, guys. I think each one of us is to pick up and one of the instruments back here and do a song. Isn't that what they told me?
It is not happening.
Shucks. We'll do it again. Give us a go first.
John, it's all yours.
So it is interesting being up here because you can't see anything or anybody. So there's really not much more that I can say after all that has been said, except that a lot of it is exaggerated. And I do want to talk about the start of CVHC. You've heard a little bit about that. There was a group of people in Coachella, some growers, some farm workers, some other people who were interested in building housing for farm workers that is ample and healthy for them to live in. And one of the people behind that is strongly behind that is here with us, Carol Harper. Carol Harper's an attorney who worked at CRLA. Please stand up. I think everybody should hold a flashlight or something when you stand up today. I have no idea where you are. So anyway, Carol was the person who wrote the application to the Aetna Foundation that gave us the first $10,000. I was working a little bit with the group that was trying to put this together, and I was working for the county of Riverside. I got a call from Carol on a Friday, as I recall. She asked me if I would come into Palm Desert and meet her at a French coffee shop that was there. And she told me that we got some grant from Aetna Foundation and we needed to have a person to be able to run the organization or else they won't let us keep the money. So I met with her in the morning and she told me this story about $10,000. How could I turn it down? You know? I had a good job at the county, but the idea of the possibility of putting together an organization and putting together some housing for farm workers that were really needed made me say yes, that I would do it. So I left the job and did it. Some other people, Tom Plonsky, who was here, was the chairman, first chairman of the board. Sylvia Montenegro, who was really a strong person putting the program together and still is. She's still on our board. She can't be here. Her husband's very, very sick, and she's with him at the hospital. So we all hope that Paul recovers, and then we get to see Sylvia pretty soon. Pedro Palomares. Pedro had been a farm worker one time and rose to get some better jobs in the county at Riverside. When he found out that the USDA did not believe that farm workers want to live in the Coachella Valley because we're so close to Mexico they can go home every night. So we had a very hard time getting funding from USDA originally. So Pedro Palomares went out and walked around to fields where people were working. He took a whole bunch of applications. He got 800 farm workers who had families and who live in the valley. They're not migrants. And he was able to get 800 of them to sign the application saying that they wanted to have a better place to live. The living conditions were disgusting. At one point, New York Times had a reporter come out. He spent more than a year with us, looking at the way people who work in the fields live and where they bathe in water that is not healthy. There's no place to live. People, they slept outside all the time. They lived in some very shacks. There were some cartolandias, these little places that are made out of cardboard. There was one that probably had about 200 people living there. They had a boxing match every Saturday night. They had dancing there also, but there were people who couldn't get a better job, couldn't get a better place to live. And we all felt that we had to do something about it. We had some resistance from USDA. We actually had some resistance from the county also at that time. I don't know if Mike Carnes is here. I think I saw that he was coming. And Ray Gardner. Mike worked with USDA, and he was very, very supportive. Once we got funded for the project, the first project we built, which was actually came to us, the funding came to us from USDA through our congressman at that time, Al McCandless. We spent about 4 years or so trying to get funding from USDA, finally getting approval for building farm worker housing. And at one point, Congressman McCandless went over to USDA himself, met with some people there, and called me from there and told me that we've been approved. The architect, Ken Darling, I believe Ken is here. He's here with his son. I can't see him either. But Ken Darling was the architect on the first project. As I understand. This was in the early 1980s. It was pretty clear to us that the federal government at that point did not want housing for low-income people. They were trying to find reasons not to go to ask Congress for funds because if they said the funds aren't being used, why should we have more funds? And the funds weren't being used because USDA wasn't using the funds. So Ken, I believe, did the plans for the project. They did about 13 different sets of plans. He financed his house in order to be able to continue doing the project. He and the Busters and some other folks, people we bought land from, all had to wait until we had money. And they trusted us. They waited. It took several years maybe, but they hung in there and waited for us. And so eventually we were approved by USDA. We developed the project, and there's a lot of history after that. Most of the people that came up here and spoke talked about one person and what one person can do. Well, one person can't do very much. it takes having people around you who are really good, people that are really, really committed. And I think that's one of the things that CVAC did over the years that was very successful. We would find people, we didn't really care about the education, we didn't care about what kind of experience they had in work. We cared about how committed they were, how hard they wanted to work, how much this was a mission for them. And that's something we started doing in the very beginning, the first time we were able to get some money to bring other people in. And I think that's how we do it until today. We have people who are really committed, who are really to study and understand how these programs work, to do the right things, and to be there, to work hard and to make sure that we get it all done. So we expanded from $10,000 up to somewhere about $700 million or more. We had one project that was almost $100 million by itself. And we did that through having the folks we had work for us and being trusted by the banks and the investors and everybody else. National Equity Fund, at a time that we wanted to do our first tax credit project, there was no investor anywhere in the country that we could find that would work in a rural community like Mecca or Coachella. And there was a guy who worked for Bank of America, Mike Mealey. We had a problem with Bank of America, and Bank of America sent up the guy who was running a bank in Chula Vista, and Mike Mealey came up to meet me. He will tell people that I met him at the curb line with a baseball bat. He was always an exaggerator. It was a golf course. It was a golf club. But he got to know us better. He got to know what was going on. Actually, Neff turned down the project. They wouldn't put any equity into it. Southern California turned it down. Other groups turned it down. A group in Boston took a chance on it. After a few months, they backed out. What happened in the meantime was Mike, through Bank of America, went to National Equity Fund, put in $50 million from Bank of America into National Equity Fund on the condition that they have to work in every community in California. So Neff came back to us. They took it. They saved us from losing that project. And we've had a lot of success with them over the years also. It's a great organization. So, and over the years, we hired people who, like I said before, really may not have had worked in this field, may not have had a lot of experience, but they were really willing to do it. And I think a lot of them are here now, if not all of them. I can't see you all, but I would like every person who has worked or is working for Coachella Valley Housing Coalition now, please stand up. So how many of the people that stood up have been with us for more than 25 years? I can't see you. I know the answer. So I believe there were 6. Oh, over here? Oh, okay. I still can't see them. So there were 6 people who've been with us all the time. That 6 was probably part of the 10 that we have at that period of time. We did have, as was mentioned before, free office space with CRLA. A lot of expenses were covered for us from CRLA. We moved into a small hotel in a small apartment in Palm Desert. And I think at that time we had the max of maybe 10 people, and 6 of them are here now. So I'm going to wrap this up. I know that we had a great time here, and I think I really appreciate all the folks who spoke. The Gang of 5, as I said before, has really taught me a lot. I've been really proud to be able to be with these guys, although a lot of people would not be proud being with them. So why don't we put the lights on, listen to the music, have some fun, have some drinks, okay? Thank you all.
Bob Wright's going to rejoin us and ask you to raise a glass. Before he does, I want a 30-second prerogative. When I was invited to join the board in 1989, I knew nothing about the affordable housing industry. Everything I learned and every inspiration I got was from working with John Mealey. It's provided me a rewarding career of a couple of decades, and I am inspired by your leadership. I hope to not mess up anything that you've established, and I am very grateful for the opportunity. And with that, let me bring my board president, Bob Wright, back up to the podium.
Thank you, everyone. Has everyone got some champagne in their glasses, hopefully? If we could get a little, raise your glass for whatever. I just want to say a couple of things. John Mealey, when I first met John, I didn't know anything about the Coachella Valley Housing Coalition either. I soon learned, I also learned that someone else liked tequila as well as I do. But that's beside the point. Right now, I'd like you to raise your glass for 34 years of helping over 4,000 families get in their homes of their dreams. He's made a huge difference, Mr. John Mealey. Congratulations, Sean.
I do want to thank my wife, Patricia, for putting up with me all these years. I'll probably see you tonight when I say this now. Also, we're doing some projects for veterans, working with a group called US Vets. Somewhere back there,
Steve Peck.
we have Steve Peck. I can't see him. Steve Peck is here, I know. Steve, do you want to wave something? Steve runs a group called the US Vets. They do great work all throughout the country. And we're glad to have them as our partner.
Ladies and gentlemen, in honor of John and his Irish heritage, we'd like you all to join us in the chorus of When Irish Eyes Are Smiling. You have the lyrics with you on your table there, so please join in. When Irish eyes are smiling, sure it's like a morning spring. When the hilt of Irish laughter, you can hear the angels sing. When Irish hearts are happy, all the world seems bright and gay. And when Irish eyes are smiling, sure they steal your heart away. Everybody! Come on out and join us.
So happy. So do you. I love this. Really cool. I really
for dancers. Come on, out on the dance floor.